Welcome to Selling Seven Figures Top Performers Tell All, hosted by Kevin Mullaney. Each month, we're diving deep to uncover the secrets of selling big, closing smart, and hitting your highest goals. One guest, one mission. Let's make more money. Ready? Let's go. Let's go.
Slow burn on that intro, but we are here, a new podcast. It's what we had with Selling Seven Figures. It's a new little twist. It's called Top Performers Tell All. And boy, oh boy, do we have a top performer on today with us. I am your host, Kevin Mullaney, and we have Savannah Dmytriw from Team SCG. Welcome. You are our first contestant, guest, honorary recipient of the episode 1. How do we feel today?
Oh my gosh, I feel absolutely honored to be here because I mean it really boils down to like the real recognized real of it all. I mean, Kevin Mullaney, you are an absolute force of nature. So I mean, a podcast for you only feels right. And to be able to be the first guest on this, are you kidding me? I am shook to my core and I am just jazzed to be here.
All right. Well, speaking of jazz, it's going to be a little bit of like a VH1 behind the music type vibe. We're going to try and talk a little bit about people's personal lives. We're going to talk about their merch lives. And if it's okay, we're going to jump right in. Cannonball into the deep end. Let's make a big splash. All right.
Let's do it.
How'd you get into the industry? How'd you specifically find Team SCG? Jump in with us.
Okay. So I am a product of COVID-19 and totally did not have any sort of like strategic way into getting into the industry. I didn't even know that the industry was really a thing. I think like in my marketing classes back in the day, I think there was like maybe like half of a slide about promotional products at one point. And I think at one point like that did go off in my head and I thought that it was interesting. But I never even realized that it could be a whole career. Rather, I thought that it was something that was just like part of the marketing mix. So I was working at the Ritz-Carlton South Beach, for 3 months of 2020 up until the pandemic happened. And I found myself without a job. And, my cousin, gave me a call and he is a client of SCG to this day still. And he was like, hey, like Granny told me that you don't have a job. But I work with this company and, they sell me a bunch of stuff, for the company that I work with. And, they're a cool company to work with and they, have a lot of like cool things going on and they're operating during the pandemic. So they're doing something right. Yeah. It's like, I'll set up a meeting for you, meet with them. So I was like, so I don't really know what that means. And obviously I looked them up and, I got like a general idea, but going into it, hearing, that it's promotional products, but as a whole business was something that I was really, really open to because in my previous job experiences, which is pretty vast, the one thing that people always got excited about was the merch. And that was something that I thought was always cool too. So to realize like that it's something that can be a whole profession was an opportunity that I was interested in. And, SCG has been like owned and operated at this point for over 35 years. So, they had the longevity, they had the proof and the concept of who they are and how they have like a legitimate business. So it was one of those leaps where I took it and I didn't look back.
That's so awesome. And Team SCG has done a bit of a transformation, right? Family business, as you mentioned, around for 30 years. The next generation is coming in, which I think is absolutely fantastic for the merch industry, right? So with that being said, we're going to talk about maybe separating church and state a little bit. Like it's really hard to always wear the Team SCG cap, but you're wearing a different cap when you're online. There is this person that is called Merch Girly, right? And she has now cracked in the illustrious Online 18 award. What number did you get?
I think I got 9.
Congrats.
Yes,
That's really, really rad because you're very, very new to the industry still, right? I think that's fair to say, right?
for sure.
You're a COVID baby of merch, if that's a weird thing.
No, I think it plays.
Yeah,
It
I
resonates with
love
me.
it.
I feel it.
So talk to me about Merch Girly. Who is Merch Girly?
So, okay, Merch Girly is the personification of my personal brand and the Savannah experience of working at SCG. So, Merch Girly is an extension of SCG, and a lot of like what I do with Merch Girly funnels through SCG. But the thing is with Merch Girly, it's she's a bit of an amalgamation of a bunch of like characters that I've always drawn like a bunch of inspiration from. So you'll find in my bio that I refer to myself as the Anna Wintour of corporate merch. And Anna Wintour is, I mean, she's not fictional. She's very much so real. She's the editor in chief of Vogue and has like a very, very, I mean, insane career. Like go look it up. And she is that gal. I mean, the Met Ball is because of Anna Wintour. And you know, so much so that Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada is based off of her. You know, I also look to like an Elle Woods, who really taught me a bunch about leaning into being yourself and being able to succeed as a girly twirly in a very like not girly twirly space. And like, I mean, Merch Girly is just my take on coming into this industry and not necessarily seeing myself in a bunch of different people or feeling like I was very not represented, that's the wrong word, but like not feeling as though my story was already told, and I've taken it upon myself to tell my story as a piece of maybe inspiration for other especially women in particular that don't necessarily see their space carved out in a male dominated industry.
Wow, you've got a huge fan in me. So much I'm a huge fan. And you really are delivering happiness. Look at what I got in the mail yesterday.
I
How's it?
mean, come
I mean,
on.
I think it's one of the things you say, now there's just us girls here. We can let our hair down and have a little conversation, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Kevin, the fact that you're repping the Merch Girly brand is something that brings me so much joy. We have friendship bracelets. We're twinning over here. And I mean, the bow tie, you're showing me up here with that. I'm not going to lie. This is a fresh fit right here. This is a fab fit that you have going on.
I feel good. I feel like it's just us girls now. And yes, we're going to have to do a jersey swap. I'll have to send you a matching Merch Girly bow tie so you can represent in the streets. And I love what you said about, you know what I mean? Like, this is how you view the industry, right? This is how you view yourself in this industry, right? And I feel like look, I don't think there's a complete glass ceiling, but if you go to these large trade shows, you still do see those tumbleweeds rolling by the aisles with their push carts, running over your feet, right? And that's what I love about you and your team, right? It just seems like you are breaking the barriers. Most of the buyers in this industry, a lot of times, are younger females. Is that correct? Or is that true for your clients as well, or is that not accurate?
So it's becoming more and more of that, which is, I mean, at first it's funny because, I mean, and I guess we can kind of get into this a little bit later, but it started out as I would talk to anybody, but now I've really built out a niche for myself of like the people that resonate with my message, with how I do business, and I'm able to be more of myself because now people that I work with, they're looking for that. And that's how the game's changed a little bit for me since I first dipped my toe here.
Well, I love it. And I'm going to get these off just because the reflection is freaking me out. But we talked a little bit. So when I tune into the Merch Girly, right, I see a very mindful person. And there was a recent social media blast about this guy who wakes up at 4:30 a.m., does like 5 different ice facials. But like, honestly, when I saw that, I thought of you. Like, I see you eating healthy. You're constantly juicing and, not steroids juicing, but like making your own juices. Like
green juicing, ready to rumble.
I see you going into the fridge and just scarfing down a little bit of spinach because you didn't have the greens for the day, taking the ice baths, the saunas, the cold plunges. Is there anything that when you're sharing online, whether it's Savannah or Merch Girly, is there anything that's off limits right now for you in this new content creation world we're in right now?
So I'm trying to share a lot, but I'm also I have very like firm boundaries around social media and how I consume and how I share. Because I guess kind of what a lot of people don't necessarily see is um, I have a lot going on as it relates to work and in my personal life, and so I share things that like moments that inspire me throughout my day, and I share just different things that I think like will like people in our industry will understand. But I think as far as like things that go off limits, like it's more so for me when I do it. So I'm somebody who doesn't touch my phone for the first hour and a half of my day, because I have a very, very, very extensive morning routine, which is like something that I would never necessarily film because I don't look at my phone at that time. And I have like a very similar mindset into like going into my evening. Like whenever I go into my bedroom at night, like I'm done with my phone. I'm not scrolling on my phone. So I'm not like really engaged at like at those times of my day. And so I kind of see those as the more off limits just because if I don't turn it off or have those firm boundaries, like it will consume every piece of my life. And I like to make sure that like as somebody who's creating content that I don't lose myself in it and that like it doesn't start to own me.
Yeah. Wow. It's great to hear that you have limits. I think that's something that I've always struggled with, specifically now that I've got two daughters, right? It's like, I don't want to be the dad that's just on his phone all the time, waiting for a
Mhm.
response from a client, et cetera, et cetera. You know how that world gets.
For sure.
Talk to me about, obviously things are going really, really well for you. Your first year in the industry, you put up some crazy numbers. We're talking about like over 3 million in sales in just your first kind of calendar year. Now you've moved over to the VP role. If you don't mind me asking, what is one of the things you've done recently that you've leveled up in the VP role that you've left that old kind of grinder, hustler, producer role behind? Is there anything that you can kind of share with the crowd of what you've learned in that transition of roles?
So here's the thing, like, and I kind of was touching on it a little bit earlier, is before when I first got to the industry and when I was, cold calling, I didn't have any sort of book of business to rely on. So I was taking literally any and every conversation that would come across my desk. And so it wouldn't necessarily be with the people that I resonate the most with. It wouldn't necessarily be with the girly twirlies that like I'm working with now more and more. But like it was just kind of I'll have as many conversations as I can until I find one that hits. So now I'm able to be much more particular about like who I'm talking to because a lot of the conversations start before I even have that initial conversation with them. As the transition goes from, like being an independent contributor to, a vice president of a department now, it's different because my role is so much more ambiguous now and it's so much more whatever I want it to be. So the game has changed entirely. What I've kept the same, I would say, is my work ethic is, if the game changes, you have to just continue to show up and play your best, whatever that game is. And that's what I'm doing. I mean, pretty much every day. I feel like no 2 days of my job now are identical. If anything, like it's always something new. And so I'm having to be much more nimble in the sense of it's not just figuring out how to get an order or get a call, get an order, process the job, deliver the job. It's so much more now. What are the needs of the business? Because SCG is growing tremendously, which comes with so many different shifts that we have to make internally. And with that, comes a bunch of different growth internally as well. And that can look like a million different things that I've never even done before.
Yeah, no, it's really, really good feedback. And I'll be honest with you, it's at this point, because you haven't done it before in this new VP role, right? You've obviously been doing it for a little bit. You are still building the ship a little bit while you're flying to the moon. So that can be
Every
a little bit
day.
scary. Yeah.
And that's like that's that's something that we say literally all the time is like we're building the ship as we sail. But like it's one of those things too of with like being promoted in and whatnot. It's not because I have experience outside in a vice president chair doing this with somebody else. It's because, they've trusted me to build out departments in which we've never had before. And obviously that's a big like honor and privilege, but it's a huge responsibility too. And so I take it personally to like show up as my best self. And that's why I do a lot of these like self-help things, and they may seem like woo woo and they may seem like a little extra, but these are the things that like help me be able to show up in like my best headspace each and every day as I do a lot of like very challenging different things.
Oh, that's awesome. And I agree. I've been trying to do the 6 a.m. hot yoga, take care of me before I can take care of others, right?
Mhm.
And it's a good start to the day. Nice little mental, detox. And then obviously being in the sauna doesn't hurt, getting some of those demons out before the day starts either. So I
Exactly.
feel you, girl. All right. So now we're going to talk. We touched on it a little bit, and everyone always looking for like their ideal client, right? And people always say people buy from who they like. Obviously, that's true. But what I would always try and encourage people to do is, what you want to do is you want to sell to people that you like, if that makes any sense. So like brands that you align with, like your ethos is in line, right? Or people treat people the way they want to be treated. That's very, very similar in the buyer relationship. So much that you have gone with a full blitzkrieg campaign. You're one of those ones who, like me, is a huge, huge fan of the book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I can actually give you 100% credit as to why I started reading that. Really helped me a lot in my personal life, and then applying it at times to my professional life. So you went ahead and you said, I'm going to shoot my shot. I love this woman. I love this book, and I do merch. Let me introduce myself in every way possible and try and get the business. And you went with a full onslaught with your online presence. Walk me through like when you decided, hey, I'm going to do this, and then what you learned along the way with this whole process, because I was fascinated by it.
Oh my gosh, Kevin. So here's the thing. I read the book, and it's something that like changed my life and the way that I look at so many different things, whether it be professionally, personally, emotionally. It's such an amazing tool because it's so simple, and it's a simple tool that you can then apply to like these very, very complex situations and relationships within your life. And the more that you continue to grow, and the more that you extend your family, and the more like your professional growth, where you're not just being an individual contributor, but you're managing a team, you have a board of directors to report to, there becomes like really complex dynamics. And being able to not only say let them, but let me, helps you navigate how you can show up and how you can allow other people to show up. So it's something that like really, really resonated with me personally. And so much so that like whenever I find something that like really hits home with me, I want to shout it from the rooftop. So I mean, and since it is like so simple and not necessarily like one of those like crazy like complex brainiac kind of like books in which you can't necessarily just like chit chat with like over coffee, it was something that just like very organically came up in conversation with me with many different people. So after I finished reading it, and I realized a lot of people started reading it, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Like, let me let me do a little recap and give like my thoughts and my perspective about it. And so I did that, and of course, like I tagged my girly twirly Mel Robbins, and she went ahead and she commented on it and said like, wow, you did a great job of explaining this. And I was like,
Yeah,
hold on.
so rad.
Hold the phone here, because to be honest, like I wouldn't necessarily say that like Mel Robbins is like my typical like strike zone client, as I typically deal with like very like enterprise corporations, and that's much more of kind of like the business in which we work with at SCG. We're dabbling with some more funner, like more modern brands now, but that's not like where we've started or what we know like in the most like traditional sense. But I was like, wait, hold on. If I have this gal's attention, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that as a consumer of this book, and as a preacher of this book, as a preacher of her gospel, that she's missing out on merch. She's missing out on the piece that I know. And hey,
Yeah.
as the merch girly, it would be a disservice to my girly Mel if I didn't bring this to her attention. And so I, was like, and I live in like the land of delusion in the sense of, or I wouldn't even call it delusion. I live in the land of audacity. And that's where I'm like, well, if she's already looking at my stuff, let me really really sing it to her and see what comes of this. And it's not even necessarily that my goal was like I need to do Mel Robbins merch, but it's more so like we have so much investment in my community at this point into the book itself and so much passion around it. Like, why not see where we can take this? And so it was really really cool because so many people saw that and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's so wild that you did that. And like I would never be able to put myself out like that. And I'm like, oh well, like just this is part of my strategy here, is just always putting myself out there. But then people got really involved in it and they're like, how, like so many suppliers reached out to me and they're like, how can I help, even like the people that were just commenting on along with it and like saying like, and this was like other distributors too, where they're like, Mel, let her do your merch, like let merch girly do your merch. It just was something that was so cool to see, just how invested a community that I consider to be like a micro influence, like a micro community, be able to garner the attention of this lady that is a mammoth of a social presence, and like be able to show her not only that like we read the book, we understand the book, but this is our industry and this is how we show up.
Yeah, I really was a beautiful campaign. And for a quick synopsis for those that have not read the book, what I love the most about it is like you see it, the Let Them Theory, see 300 pages. It's like most of these self-help books that I get into are sales books. It gets you on the second chapter, tells you exactly what the book is, and then just gives you 19 examples for the rest of the book. This one, I think, again, the spoiler alert is the Let Them Theory is the mindset. The Let Me is the action that I'm going to put into place, right? That I'm going to control what I can control. As you mentioned, the showing up your best self every day, knowing that it's a completely different day. So again, strongly recommend. We're going to keep pushing for Mel to stay on top because the book's fantastic. And again, it's been great for me as well. But she eventually got back to you, right? And then so like end the sales cycle for us, because I think this is really, really cool, because not all wins are wins and not all losses are losses. And when I talked to you about that, you made an awesome comment, which I love. So touch on that if you don't mind.
So her team did get back to me in the sense of they basically said, look, like we have some, merch in production, and like Mel's really appreciated your effort in, like in how enthusiastic you are about this, or something like that. And it was like very like short and sweet, but the general gist of it all is the fact that she acknowledged, she now knows who I am and knows that I have a legitimate community. And in the future, if she probably needs a little something extra, because let's be real here, she had this book released and she didn't have merch out. So when I hear that, what I hear is the company that she's producing merch with suggested that she produce something that's unattainable for her launch, and that they weren't able to properly produce or deliver, and that there's some sort of delay, and it's probably some sort of headache and a half. So with that, I see that as an opportunity in the future that she'll probably be able to say, well, I know somebody who's able to do it now. And I mean, I'm at least keeping my hat in the ring. I didn't hear no in what she sent me. I heard maybe not now, maybe not at this immediate moment, but I didn't hear a no. And I heard that now I heard awareness of the merch girly, and that's what it's really, really all about.
Yeah, I think this is so rad. And that's why I'm like a huge fan of you, kind of ships in the night when I got out of the industry and you were obviously blowing up. So wish we could have spent more time together and really been part of this other community that you're building in. And maybe we'll do a part 2 with Savannah and Merch Girly, because you really are doing so many great things to empower others. But some of the things I just want to highlight to gas you up and throw a little bit of love your way. But I love how you leaned into your community. You asked for help. Hey, who of my suppliers want in on this, right? I'm not going to stop. I'm going for it. So if you want to get in, I'll put anything in front of Mel that I think is on brand, right? You made custom shoes, you made slides. And again, the love was coming in from your community, which I thought was awesome to tap into. And then my favorite part, one of my mentors always says this, hey, a no today is not a no forever, it's a no for now, right?
Exactly.
Like you put your brand out there, you showed up authentically. Again, I know Mel was proud of everything that you did because she commented on your page. So like, I just thought it was a masterclass of like life imitating art, meaning not every win is a win today, right? But you know, you gave your best effort and you relied on your community, and I just thought it was beautiful. So with that being said, I do want to transition to kind of ending this. I could do this all day, but if there is a senior quote, Savannah, that you kind of live by, or you want to leave this audience of 3, maybe 13 people that might tune in, and I know thanks to you, we're probably talking about 1,300 because of your presence. What would be kind of your senior quote, whether it's Savannah, Merch Girly, that you would leave us with?
So this is something that I, especially as my game continues to change and as I proceed to get like so many very, very cool, exciting opportunities put in front of me, my quote that keeps me just grounded in it all is, if it's not this, it's something better. Because it's so easy to get so excited and to get hyper obsessed with, you know, a bunch of opportunities, a bunch of attention, a bunch of different things that come your way. But that obsession is almost like a scarcity mindset. For example, and I guess this will just, I mean, why not, for the sake of throwing this out there, I was recently I was had a casting interview for a large television show, and it's going to be a new thing. But, you know, it was one of those things that, like, obviously that's extremely exciting, and that could be something that's very like life-changing and all the things. But like, I haven't heard back from them yet, but rather than be super obsessed over it and, you know, constantly just be waiting for my phone to ring and all these different things, it's the thing that I keep going back to is, if it's not this, it's something better. And so even though I haven't heard back from them, like, and I wouldn't be surprised if I do randomly hear back from them at a random time, that whatever is ahead of me, I choose to lean into my faith. I choose to lean into a mindset of abundance, because fear and scarcity are not going to get you where you want to go. And so being able to not be attached to one thing in specific that's in front of you, and have like one specific idea of the way things are supposed to go. They say like, man plan and God laughs. Like, this is the epitome of rooting yourself into that. And that, you know, there is someone out there that is keeping me, that is directing me exactly where I'm meant to be going. And that's the energy in which I'm leaning into. Did we just get spiritual?
I don't even need to go to the gym later, because we just lifted a lot right there. I don't need to go to church on Sunday, because we just opened up the heavens and we had God touch us for a bit there. Well, like, I'll be honest with you, this is the second time we've connected. Blown away. Like, I don't know if you had this prepared. I don't know if this is just how it comes off the script and off the top, but like, kudos to you. Your authentic self is exactly the type of people that I want to put in my community. We can't thank you enough for being the #1 stunner on selling 7 figures, top performers tell all. I mean, this is exactly what I was hoping for. Is like the raw, the real, and then I hope a lot of our listeners, again, all 14 of them, about to be 1,400, got a lot of that. And I don't know who's going to edit this. It's probably not going to be me, but like that last bit, I hope everyone else tunes in for the full 29-minute episode, because I'm blown away, girl. So I'm going to let you get back to your 9 to grind, and just thank you, because I took a lot out of this. I'm ready to go pound the phones, and I'm ready to to find my Mel Robbins. And just thanks for everything. We really appreciate you being on it. Oh, by the way, the merch is just so clean.
We got it going on here. And I mean, again, Kevin, thank you so much, because I do see so much in you and the enthusiasm that you bring to literally honestly, every sentence that you speak is something that like I really deeply admire in you, and something that I feel like I'm very much so connected with. So, I mean, thank you first and foremost for the hospitality. Like, this is amazing. But second, like, I think that, we're all just getting started here. And I think that there's so much more to be done within our industry, and just being able to like have more and more conversations like this and being able to connect and engage with people is something that I'm really passionate about. So anybody that's looking to continue this conversation or has any questions, because I know that especially that last piece there's a lot there. I'm always very open to chit chat. I'm really, my DMs are very much so open to the community. So, just reach out.
I love it.
Merch Girly, that's really it.
And I know I'm extending this even longer, but the last thing I did want to touch on is it's always positive with you. There's so much of this online, this X, this Twitter, whatever it is, and it's negative, it's brand bashing. It's not what you do. You elevate, you lift up, you find the cocktail napkin that speaks to you, you share it, the ice sculpture where you're walking by. Girl, just keep doing you. No one's doing it better right now. So thank you. Congrats on the Online 18. Keep crushing it. Team SCG is lucky to have you. Your family's lucky to have you, and I'm lucky to have you as a friend. I'm going to probably burn up this outro, but thanks. I really, really appreciate it. And looking forward to the next guest. See if you can live up to the hype of the Merch Girly. Florida's finest, baby.
Wow. Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Stay hydrated, stay fabulous, stay branded, do all the things.
I love it. Thanks so much. All right, let's see if we can kick this off the wrong way. All right, let's go.
And this is the outro?
I think this is the outro. I think it is. That outro video.